Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we are detailing this F-150, which is a cattle farmer's truck. So he's been going through the pastures. This thing's kind of covered in mud on the outside, and definitely on the inside is quite dirty as well. But we're going to get it all cleaned up, and the question is, how many licks does it take to clean this truck up? Oh, it's a weird question, but how much would I have to pay you to lick the mud off the side of this thing?
No.
Let me know in the comments below. If you guys are new, hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up. Let's go ahead and take a look inside. So as we're pulling all this stuff out of the inside of the vehicle, and that when it comes to getting the seats out, one thing about pickup trucks that is really something that people don't realize is those bolts that bolt the seat in go straight through to the bottom of the car. And with this truck being older, I had to make sure I took my time to make sure that those bolt holes weren't rusted in the nuts on the bottom side, so that way you don't strip anything or cause any issues. It has over 200,000 miles. It literally is just a farm truck beater at this point. With that being said, it still is in great condition, runs really well, and I had no issues with getting those bolts out. And in the last video, you guys saw me use my dual action polisher as a way to cause the floor to vibrate, and which released all of this dust. Even after the vacuuming initially, this is all the stuff that came out, which was pretty cool to see. Now, one thing I did want to mention is I have restocked the all-purpose cleaner from Mint Shine on foxclean.com. I literally sold out of 160 bottles in less than 3 days. I just got a new shipment in, so there is plenty more for you guys to go ahead and pick up. And everyone that's picked it up has talked about how good it smells, how well it works, and you guys will not be disappointed with any of the Mint Shine products for that matter. So after this video, make sure you guys go over to foxclean.com to pick up all of your detail and supplies, and definitely try the all-purpose cleaner if you haven't already. One thing that I was stoked about is the fact that it is warm enough outside that I was able to pressure wash the floor mats. It's been something I haven't been able to do most of the wintertime just because of how much it causes just everything to go everywhere inside the garage. It's nice just to pressure wash them. You kind of pressure wash initially, use your all-purpose cleaner or carpet solution, drill brush, and then pressure wash again. And then I'm just using my extractor to suck out the remaining liquid that's saturated in there to get them as dry as possible before they're hung up to dry before it's returned to the customer. One thing that I think is kind of funny is I think in every video I've done, people have always asked, why don't I use a Tornador? And one reason why is I actually do own one. I originally like an authentic Tornador, which are not cheap products. They work well in certain cases, but for most of the things that I do, I just haven't found a good purpose for it, just because of the fact that if you fill it with all-purpose cleaner, or if you're using it besides an air gun, it gets stuff everywhere, and that all-purpose cleaner gets atomized and gets blown in the air to the point where it almost makes you feel like you're choking because you're breathing it in. I've just never found a good reason to use a Tornador over just using an air gun nozzle like I'm using here, and just my detailing brush is an all-purpose cleaner. But if you guys have any suggestions on what you use a Tornador for, or if you have one and have any advice or tips, let me know in the comments below. If you have black carpets in your car, I think one thing that's hard to see is how much dirt is physically there. And if you can see from this extractor pour, this is definitely delicious, juicy stuff that was pulled out of just those 2 parts of the floor mat. That's all just from those 2. A good recommendation is when you're detailing the interior, always start with the top of the dashboard or the top of the the window visors and kind of work your way down. The same goes for outside of the car. Always start from top to bottom. And the main reason for that on the interior is when you're spraying your all-purpose cleaner, or you're doing any sort of thing, you're going to have things splashing off of it or blowing off with the air gun. So if you start at the top, anything that sprays down below, you're going to be tackling eventually anyways. So that is a good way to kind of eliminate the fact that you might have to go back and do something over again. Now with the interior all cleaned up, we're going to move to the outside of the vehicle, and the first thing that we always want to do is just do a pressure washing of the outside surface before we put on any foam, any soap, using our wash mitt, anything like that. Get as much of that dirt residue off just by using the pressure washer. And I try to add as much slow motion as I could of all of this mud being blasted off. But also this is a good time to kind of inspect the paint as you're getting the mud and dirt off. This truck, like I said, is older, so there's quite a bit of rust spots on the quarter panels. But one thing that I did notice underneath is you can see it in this shot that the wiring harness is hanging down. So I was able to tell the owner about it, who was not aware that it looked like chipmunks had chewed through the actual wire loom, and some of the wires were coming loose. So I made sure to let him know that so that way he can get that fixed. Now for the wheels, I'm usually a little bit more aggressive with the products that I use to kind of help with removing brake dust and things like that. But these aluminum wheels that are typically coated have seen better days. So once I even get them pressure washed off, a lot of the clear coat has been peeled off. And when you have non-coated aluminum wheels, if you use anything stronger than like an all-purpose cleaner, if you try to use like an acid or something like that, the aluminum will oxidize and you kind of give yourself a lot more work. So I decided to bypass all that, just clean them as best I could and leave them at that. Now when I was pressure washing out the bed, I think this is some of my favorite shots because you can see just how good it looks in slow motion when all this hay and dirt and mud in the bed gets blown out. Now for today, we're using the pink concoction snow foam to kind of saturate the surface for any remaining dirt or grime that's on there on the paint to kind of get loosened up before we rinse it off and get to the washment phase. And who doesn't like slow-mo foam cannon? Now this shot kind of gives it away, but when I'm doing the exterior first, I always try to blow out the door frames, but I went ahead and took the whole wash section of this video and kind of put it towards the end because I know a lot of you like to watch the interiors get done first. So typically I do wash the exterior first before I go to the inside, and that is why you are seeing the car look dirty on the inside when I'm washing out those door frames.
My friends are in the club, we'll go all night. I see you in the back, the mood is right. If I just had your number, I would let you know how I feel. You walk up to me, start dancing to the music and the chase, like this was meant to be. Take my hand, I feel my heart beat, and I don't want this moment to stop. Time to go home, don't want this night to end. Yeah, about time we stop pretending. Come home with me, let's write a history. Tonight I'll make you see it's all about us. It's all about us. As we're dancing close together, making out. It's all about us. It's all about us. There's a magic in your eyes, can't get enough. Feel your hands, the way you're touching me around my neck. Got chills down my back, you do it right. The way you're holding me, no, I don't want this moment to stop. No need to fight it, I cannot hide it. We won't regret it, so come with me, maybe we're meant to be.
Now I spoke with the owner about this truck, and he has got a barn. Obviously he's a cattle farmer, so he was painting his barn, and he kind of had his truck very close, and he was using the bed to kind of hold the spray gun and spray on, and he got a lot of overspray on the outside of the paint. So I told him I'd try to get some of it removed. Obviously the time and effort involved for removing a lot of overspray like that would have exceeded the entire detail just doing that one step. But I kind of showed him that just by using a clay bar, you can remove a lot of that overspray. So I did a good portion of the vehicle for him to kind of showcase that. So that way, if he needed to, or if any of you guys for that matter have overspray, typically a clay bar is your best bet to try to remove that if you're not going to do any polishing.
It's all about us. It's all about us. It's all about us.
Now, I hope you guys enjoyed today's detailing transformation of this farm truck. I need you guys to go ahead and comment down below, like I asked at the beginning of the video, how much would somebody have to pay you to lick the dirt or the mud or the grime off of one of these cars that I detail? So go ahead and comment that down below, and also check out this video on screen. Go watch it next to continue getting that detailing motivation, hone your skills to become a better detailer, and I'll see you guys next week.